Smoke rolled across the broken ground and the air tasted like burning metal. The alien warship hung above the battlefield, its guns still glowing from the last strike. The alien captain's cold voice came through the command channel, telling his soldiers to confirm the kill. Below on the cracked dirt lay the body of a human girl, her armor scorched, her helmet cracked open to show her pale face. She looked no older than 20, her chest was still, her eyes closed, dust falling over her like snow. The alien soldiers moved carefully around her, scanning with their devices. Their screens showed nothing, no heartbeat, no brain activity, no life at all. One alien tapped the scanner twice, as if it might be broken, but the reading stayed the same. The girl was dead. They had been hunting her for days across ruined cities and shattered skies, and now they finally had her. The soldiers spoke in their language, calling this a small victory, but still important. Humans were stubborn, hard to kill, and dangerous even when wounded. The order came to leave the body and move on. They had other targets to hunt. The aliens turned away, not noticing the faint ripple in the air around her, not seeing the tiny twitch of her fingers. The ship above gave a low hum and began to pull away from the battlefield, dust storms curling in its wake. Silence fell, except for the crackle of small fires. 37 minutes passed before anything changed. A single alien guard remained posted near the kill site. He was bored, checking his wrist display and glancing at the empty ground from time to time. Then he froze. Something moved in the corner of his vision. He turned his head slowly, his breath catching. The girl was standing not far from where she had fallen, her armor still broken, her face still pale, but her eyes were open. They were not the same eyes they had been before. Now they glowed faintly with a strange light. She did not limp, she did not stumble, she simply stood straight, as if nothing had happened. The guard reached for his weapon, but his hands shook. She tilted her head, watching him the way a predator might watch prey. She took one slow step forward, then another. The ground beneath her boots gave a soft crunch. In the quiet, the guard whispered into his cum, asking for backup, but the cum only hissed with static. The warship was already too far away. He tried to scan her again, but the device flickered and died. The readings showed something impossible, human, but not human. Alive, but not alive. She stopped just a few steps away from him, looking into his eyes. She said nothing, but the look she gave made the guard take a step back without thinking. Then she walked past him as if he did not matter, heading in the direction of the alien forward base. The guard did not follow, he just watched her go, his heart pounding in his chest. The girl's shadow stretched long in the fading light. Behind her, the fires of the battlefield burned a little brighter, as if the world itself knew something was wrong. The warship crew would not know for several minutes that their kill had just stood up and started walking toward them. When they did, it would already be too late. Alien forward base was alive with noise and movement. Guards patrolled the walls, heavy machinery rumbled in the hangars, and the command center glowed with the light of dozens of screens. Inside the control room, a junior officer stared at a grainy feed from an external camera, his face tightening. He called for his superior. The captain stepped forward, annoyed at the interruption. But when his eyes fell on the image, the irritation vanished. The screen showed the human girl walking toward the main gate, her steps slow, steady, deliberate, as if she had all the time in the world. Her armor was still scorched, her helmet still cracked, yet she moved like nothing was wrong. Her hands hung loosely at her sides, but there was something in her posture that made every soldier who saw her feel a strange unease. The captain barked an order for the gates to be sealed and weapons aimed at her. The heavy barriers slammed shut. The turrets turned and locked on target. The girl kept walking. She did not look at the guns or the soldiers shouting from behind. Cover! She reached the outer gate and stopped. The alien commander stepped forward over the loudspeaker, his voice deep and confident, telling her to stop where she was and explain herself. She lifted her head just enough for the lights to catch her eyes. The faint, unnatural glow made the nearest guard take an involuntary step back. Then, without a word, she moved again, not toward the gate, but along the wall, finding a blind spot between the overlapping fields of fire. It was a gap so small most soldiers didn't even know it existed, yet she walked through it as if she had memorized the design of the base. The sensors should have triggered alarms, but the screens in the control room flickered and glitched as she passed. The tech officers scrambled to fix the feeds, but by the time they came back online, She was already inside, moving between patrols without being seen. The captain shouted for troops to intercept her. Squads rushed to cut her off in the central courtyard, but she was gone, slipping through like smoke. One soldier swore he saw her reflection in a window, even though there was no one there. When he turned, the captain demanded. A full lockdown door slammed shut, bulkheads dropped, and yet somewhere deep in the base, an internal camera caught her walking casually down a corridor. She stopped in front of a high-security door, and for the first time she spoke. Her voice carried through the audio feed in perfect alien language, a phrase that only high command officers knew. The words made the captain's skin crawl. The base fell silent for a moment, every officer in the control room staring at each other, unsure how a human girl could know those words. Then the feed cut to black, and the last thing they saw was her turning her head toward the camera with the faintest hint of a smile. The Alien War Council gathered in a secure chamber deep within the base. The air was heavy with the low hum of machinery and the tense whispers of officers arguing over the impossible. A human girl who had been confirmed dead was now moving freely. Inside their perimeter, some claimed it was an illusion or a malfunction. Others insisted it was a human trick, but none could explain how she knew classified alien phrases known only to top command. The highest-ranking commander slammed his clawed hand on the table, silencing the room. He ordered an elite strike team to track her down and remove her quietly. No noise, no panic. They were the best hunters in the sector, soldiers trained to stalk prey through any terrain, human or alien. They moved fast, sweeping the base with infrared scanners and motion trackers. But no reading held for more than a second. It was as if she slipped between the spaces of their vision. The first squad found traces of her in a dim maintenance tunnel. It dropped piece of scorched armor, still warm to the touch. The hunter leader smiled, thinking they had her cornered. Then the lights flickered and died. The only sound was the faint hiss of air vents shutting down. They switched to night vision, but the corridors stretched into endless blackness, and the temperature dropped so suddenly that their breath came visible one by one. There comes. Filled with static, the leader signaled a fallback, but before they could regroup, a single figure stepped out from the dark. She walked slowly toward them, unarmed and unafraid. The hunters aimed their weapons, yet none fired. Something in her gaze froze them in place. She circled them, studying each one like a scientist examining specimens. Her eyes moved from their weapons to their armor, to the way they held themselves. Not one word passed her lips. Then the emergency lights came back on in a blinding flash, and she was gone. The hunters found themselves alone in the tunnel, though none could remember seeing her leave. When they reported back to the commander, they admitted she had not attacked them. She had only watched, and the last hunter to speak hesitated before adding that her expression was not of anger or fear, but curiosity, as if she was learning how to be something more dangerous than she already was. Far above the alien capital planet, the High Command received an urgent encrypted transmission. The channel was unknown and heavily scrambled. Their technicians worked quickly to break through the interference. When the image finally appeared, it froze the entire control room. The screen showed the human girl sitting at a metal table in what looked like one of their own military storage rooms. In front of her lay a fully assembled alien plasma rifle. Without looking at it, she began to take it apart, her hands moving with mechanical precision. Every piece placed neatly on the table in the exact order required to reassemble it. She never glanced down, her glowing eyes locked directly on the camera, as if she could see through it into the room of every officer watching. When the rifle was reduced to its smallest components, she spoke in perfect alien language, her tone calm but sharp. "I was not sent here to survive. I was sent here to finish what you started." The words echoed in the silent chamber. The officers exchanged uneasy glances. Some demanded the feed be cut. Others insisted on tracing it, but the tech team reported something impossible. The signal was coming from inside their own central district, yet no security systems had detected an intruder. The image faded to black, replaced by a single line of alien code, a line that only one living person was supposed to know. The chief intelligence officer whispered that the phrase was connected to an old war archive, a locked vault buried beneath the capital that contained technology too dangerous to ever be used. The room erupted into arguments about whether she could possibly know of its existence, but the scientist in the corner spoke softly, his voice trembling. If she reaches the vault, it's over for all of us. And for the first time in many cycles, no one in the room disagreed. The alien capital's core was buried beneath layers of steel walls, energy shields, and guard stations, but that night, every security camera began to glitch one after another until the feeds went black. Technicians scrambled to restore them, but each reboot failed, showing only static, deep underground. Soldiers reported losing contact with their patrols. The commander ordered a full lockdown, yet somehow alerts began coming in from areas that should have been sealed hours ago. In the dim light of a corridor, two guards caught sight of her, the human girl walking toward the central chamber where the vault door loomed. She moved without hurry, her footsteps echoing off the cold metal walls. They shouted warnings and raised their weapons, but before they could fire their rifles, lost power. Both men staggered back as she passed. Then, without even a glance, the vault itself was a massive black door with symbols carved into its surface, guarded by the alien warlord himself. His armor gleamed under the pale blue lights, and his blade was drawn. He was not like the others. This one towered over her, his eyes hard with the certainty that he could end her in seconds. They met in the center of the chamber. The fight was fast, brutal, every strike from his blade met by a movement from her that seemed almost too precise to be human. She ducked, swept his legs, dodged his follow-up swings, never looking strained. The warlord's breathing grew heavy while she remained steady. Then, during a brief lock of their weapons, she spoke, her voice low. "I remember this fight," the warlord snarled, saying it was impossible. They had never met. She smiled faintly, saying she carried more than her own memories. She was a carrier for every soldier who had died in this war, their instincts, their reflexes, their rage, all inside her. The warlord attacked with renewed fury, but it was useless. She disarmed him in 3 swift moves, stepped past his collapsing form, and placed her hand on the final lock of the vault. With a hiss, the massive door began to open inside. Shadows shifted and pale light spilled out. She stared into the chamber and whispered, "Now I remember who I was." The moment the vault door slid fully open, a wave of cold air poured out. Carrying a faint metallic smell inside the chamber stood a single machine taller than any alien soldier, its surface covered in strange markings and faint blue pulses. This was the Extinction Protocol weapon, a creation so dangerous that even the warlords feared to use it. The human girl stepped inside, her glowing eyes scanning every detail as memories, not her own, surged through her mind. The scene around her blurred, and she was somewhere else, in a flashback. 37 minutes after her death, she had awakened inside a sealed alien chamber, strapped to a table, surrounded by scientists. They spoke in hushed tones about reviving her as a prototype bioweapon, mixing her human mind with alien combat algorithms. They believed they could shape her into the perfect, obedient killer. But they had underestimated the one thing that made humans different. Her mind refused to bend. Instead, it absorbed everything. The machines forced into it and turned it against them when she broke free. They thought they had lost control, but they did not yet understand how completely. She now knew their systems, their weapons, their weaknesses. The vision faded, and she was back in the vault, standing before the weapon. The warlord's distant shouts echoed through the corridors as more soldiers rushed to stop her. She placed her hand on the core panel. The weapon hummed to life, yet she did not aim it to destroy planets. Instead, she accessed its hidden control systems buried deep in alien code. She triggered a galactic-wide pulse, a blinding surge of energy that swept across every alien warship and base, shutting down engines, weapons, and communications in an instant. Their empire's military machine went dark. The capital itself fell into silence, broken only by the sound of her footsteps as she left. The vault soldiers who tried to block her path found their weapons useless, and there comes dead she walked into the throne room where the highest commanders sat, frozen in disbelief, removing her cracked helmet. She looked each of them in the eye and spoke in a voice that carried across the chamber. "This war ended the moment you killed me." Then, without waiting for an answer, she turned and walked away, leaving behind an empire that would never recover from what one human had done. The alien capital lay in darkness, the once blinding towers, now only shadows against the faint glow of emergency lights. Streets that had echoed with the sound of war machines were now filled with silence. The human girl moved through the city like a ghost, every eye followed her, yet no one dared to stop her. The alien commanders were locked in a desperate council, trying to understand how one person had undone them so completely. Messages from other worlds arrived slowly, carried by small, unarmed craft, all told the same story. Every fleet disabled, every outpost cut off. No one knew how long it would last without their technology. The Empire's control was already breaking on distant colonies. Old enemies rose up, throwing off the alien rule for the first time in generations. Some alien soldiers whispered that this was worse than death. It was humiliation. To be defeated not by an army, but by the same human they had celebrated killing. The girl did not stay to watch the collapse. She left the capital, walking into the wildlands. Beyond, no one followed her, but many wondered if she was truly gone, or if she was simply waiting for the right time to appear again. Weeks later, deep in the ruins of a fallen alien outpost, a group of scavengers searching for supplies found a strange device half buried in the dust. When they activated it, a hologram flickered to life, showing the girl. She looked different, calmer, but still with that faint glow in her eyes. Her voice was quiet, but it carried weight. She said that she had taken something from the aliens before she left, not a weapon, but information. A map of every hidden place where the aliens kept their darkest secrets. She warned that those secrets were not just alien. They contained things from other species to things that could destroy entire worlds. She said she would not decide there. Fate alone. The message ended with coordinates to a meeting point far beyond the reach of the crippled Empire, and then the hologram faded, leaving the scavengers staring at each other in silence across the galaxy. The few who received the same transmission felt the same chill. She had not finished her work. She was simply starting something bigger, and no one could guess whether the next time she walked into a room it would be as a savior or as the end of everything.